It's that time again. Welcome to the best webinar in town, HumanWare Live. Let's introduce your host from the windy city of Chicago, currently sheltering in place. Please welcome HumanWare's brand ambassador of blindness products, Peter Tusick. And from all the way across the pond, also sheltering in place, but doing so with everyone's favorite accent, please welcome HumanWare's Braille product manager, Andrew Flattress.
Andrew, what's up, my friend?
Oh, I'm great, mate. How you doing?
I'm living the dream, as we know, right? Another Thursday, another HumanWare Live. Welcome, everybody. We're live on Facebook, and we're also here where we have been for the last, I think, 6 weeks, Andrew?
Yeah, we're getting the hang of this, aren't we? We're getting the hang of this.
Maybe. Let's not get carried away. But we are glad to have everyone here. It's HumanWare Live with Braille every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Eastern. This is Peter Tusick. I am with Andrew Flattress, the Braille product manager for HumanWare. We are today going to be looking at language profiles. So a lot of the time you may be working with users, or you yourself might know multiple languages. And we're going to show you how to add an additional language profile to your BrailleNote Touch Plus. This will also apply to your BrailleNote Touch. And we're going to show you how to switch between those profiles, show you how to kind of manipulate them, delete them, name them, and also going to throw it over to Andrew for a kind of a sneak peek at what's coming with language profiles in terms of supporting various Braille learning tables. So that will be pretty exciting. Then I'm going to take it over and we're going to look at how we can use Google Play Music to download podcasts or stream podcasts, and also how we can listen to radio. Again, not radio stations, I will do that at some point, but listening to the sort of Google Play Music to stream radio sort of playlists and such. So I am going to take over here and share my screen and we will get rocking. So let me take over screen share.
Over to you.
All right, and we're gonna go like this. And Andrew's gonna make sure you can hear my jaws babbling away. Do you hear that, Andrew?
I do, yeah.
Beautiful.
Start screen share, connect. Connect full screen button.
All right, we're gonna mute
Space, speech on demand.
our speech, and away we go. So I am on the main menu, and what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about how do we add a language profile. Again, you can have an upwards of 10 language profiles on your device. This could come in useful for not only a second or third language you might speak or might want to learn or may be learning, but also could come into play with various Braille codes. So you might have one language profile set to UEB Duxbury Grade 2. You might have another one, for some reason, set to UEB Duxbury Grade 1. Maybe you have a different user, or you're looking at documents in a different way and you want to quickly revert to another table. You could also build them in the same language, so keep that in mind. I am on the main menu. To configure a language profile, we're going to press O with space. That is the command to go into the options menu. So O with space.
Options menu. Configure language profiles.
Right, and the first option here will say configure language profiles. Now we also, if I press my next thumb key,
select language profile, primary language profile.
I have the ability here to select a language profile, and I'll show you a quick way to do that, but you can do that from within the options menu as well, so keep that in mind. But we're going to configure one, so let's press enter on configure language profiles here.
Configure language profile. Select a language profile to configure. Primary language profile.
Right, and so what it says is select a language profile to configure. And at this point, again, we can work with the primary language profile is your original sort of Braille in and out that you set up when you first set up your BrailleNote Touch or Touch Plus right out of the box. What Braille grade do you want to use? What literary Braille table? Your voice? Those sorts of things are going to be found in the primary profile. We could press enter and modify or manipulate the primary profile, but we're going to add an additional profile. So I'm going to press my next thumb key.
Add additional language profile.
Are going to press enter on add an additional language profile.
Profile name. Edit
now,
box.
Right away placed
Profile name.
in an edit box where we can name this profile. So I might want to call this German or Russian or something, you know, some sort of language that I'm working with, or maybe grade 1 or something like that, right? You can name this whatever you want. You could even name it Andrew if you wanted to, right? And Andrew could have a UK voice, and it could be, you could make it as close to Andrew as possible. You could even mess with pronunciations depending on the TTS you're using, right? Do all sorts of things. But let's just say that we're going to call this Spanish.
S-P-A-I-N. And deleted dots
Hope if
1,
I spelled
4,
Spanish
I.
correctly.
Dots 1.
All right.
Spanish.
So I name it, and I can press my next thumb key. And we're going to
OK.
activate the OK button.
Configure language profile. Language profile name.
So at
Spanish.
this point, we've named our profile, and now we're in a list of all of the configuration options. So if I press my next thumb key, we'll hear a couple of general sort of pieces.
Text-to-speech engine. BrailleNote Touch
Now,
Acapella.
this is going to be the text-to-speech engine. You could choose Google, which will give you various voices. You could choose the BrailleNote Touch Acapella, which again will give you various voices. Those are the two that will come with your device. There are other speech engines that exist in the Google Play Store. For a long time, you were able to download the Eloquence speech engine for JAWS, for instance. That is gone. That has been removed by the makers, the developers. Just the financial rewards were not there, so it's been pulled. So if you're looking for Eloquence, you may have it if you've downloaded it years ago, but if you're still looking, it is gone. So that will be something that you could mess with in terms of bringing in other text-to-speech engines. But the next option
Voice, English,
where you're
USA,
going to be able
Sharon,
to choose a
compact.
voice from that speech engine. So in this case, I have Acapella set as my default speech engine. If I press enter on voice, I can change the voice here. So I'm going to press enter.
Voice, English,
Now,
USA,
by default, you're going to have one voice, and that will be just your original voice. But you can come down and download more voices. And you'll see here, you can have 4 at a time. I have 4 here. If I press my next thumb key, you'll see the voices that I have downloaded.
Spanish, ESP,
Right?
Antonio.
So Spanish, Antonio.
French,
Here's
Fra,
Bruno. And then
manage
we have
voices.
manage voices. So if I wanted an additional voice, because you can have up to 4, so I still do have room for 1 more, I could press enter here and download a voice from a language of my choice. There is no way to preview those voices when you're looking at them. You have to download them to hear them. I'm sure if you went online, you could find somewhere to preview the voices before you downloaded them. But as of right now, because they need to be downloaded to the system, there's no samples that will exist. So if you want to hear what a voice sounds like, you're going to have to download it. Otherwise, you might want to do some YouTubing or some Googling and kind of find a sample of the specific voice you may want to hear. Now, I'm not going to go into manage voices. I've already downloaded the Spanish voice that I want. So I am going to come up to
French, Spanish, ESP,
Antonio. And I'm going to press enter.
Configure language profile. Voice, Spanish, ESP,
and you will see now that
Antonio.
my voice in this language profile is set to Spanish, and Antonio being the voice that I downloaded. Now you'll have some general options here.
Speech rate,
right? You
normal.
can adjust that. And we know that some of these things can be altered with keystrokes. So the speech rate is set to normal. You can adjust that with .6 plus enter or .3 plus enter to make it faster and slower as you need to on the fly. You could come here and change some of these things individually within these settings, but I'm going to come down.
Preferred Braille grade,
so we get
preferred Braille
grade for entry. And we're going to keep this at literary Braille. Again, there's no right or wrong way here, but whatever our literary Braille table is set to, we want that to be our keyboard entry grade. The same thing for output.
Preferred Braille grade for display.
Again,
literary
whatever
Braille.
literary Braille table is set to, that will apply to what's on the Braille display. And you can mess with this if you would rather have the computer Braille table be your entry or your display. You can do that, but you're going to have to then configure what those tables are. So if I press my next thumb key,
Computer Braille table, English
now,
US Lib Louis.
You could change this to Spanish if you want when computer Braille is required. If you want to work with it in Spanish as well, you could do that. Or you could leave this be. It's again up to you. Primarily, we're going to be working with the literary Braille table. So that's what I'm more interested in changing. So if I press my next thumb key,
literary Braille table, English
we see that
Duxbury
right now,
grade 1.
this Braille table is set to English, UEB, or UB, as TTS says, Duxbury grade 1. Now, if I want to change this, I'm going to press enter, and we're going to see what we can change it to.
Literary Braille table.
Now, you,
English.
if you're following along at home, will not have this list. This has been modified, and Andrew will talk about why in a little bit. These are now broken up. Before, it used to list all of the Braille tables we supported in one huge, long list, going from Afrikaans all the way down to, you know, various Braille tables that were in languages where the Braille code wouldn't even display them, so you'd have to switch to them and actually configure first. But now, these are all broken up by language. What I mean by that is, instead of, before you used to have to press the letter E a bunch of times to find Espanol and then the table you wanted. Now, you will be able, as soon as the update comes out on the BrailleNote Touch Plus, you will be able to press the letter S to jump down to our S's and move down.
Santali, Serbian, Shona, Sindhi, Sinhala, Slovak, Slovene, Somali, Southern Soto,
Spanish. So you heard that now this is not just divided. Before, there were just too many tables. We had lots of feedback that there was a tremendous amount of, you had to press, you know, a certain letter a lot of times. Even in English, there are several Braille tables, like English pharmaceutical code or English, you know, pre-UEB or whatever it may be. So we wanted to break it down and put it into actual language categories. So you will see this on your BrailleNote Touch Plus. If you're using the Touch Plus or the Touch right now at the time of this recording, you're going to want to press the letter E until you find Espanol and then select the proper table. For right now, I'm going to press enter on Spanish.
Literary Braille table. Espanol, Duxbury grade 2.
Of Braille tables that we can use. And this is going, there is no right or wrong answer to this. It's going to be determined by the Braille code that you know or that you are familiar with. So when you're working in Spanish, how are you doing that? Are you using UEB and just placing the accent marks in? Are you using native languages? Are you using the native Braille table when you're working in Spanish? And which one are you using? Do you know grade 2 Spanish or grade 1? Generally, what I tell most people who are working here in the United States is to use the Reducita Duxbury grade 1 Braille table. So I'm going to find that by pressing my next thumb key.
Espanol Liblu Espanol / Reducita Duxbury grade 1.
For today, again, not absolutely necessary, but we're going to try it here. You could use any Braille table and check to see which one you're most comfortable with. Some languages have different results for different Braille tables. We found that out with German for sure. We had to switch kind of to a third one, not even LibLouis or Duxbury. We had to go to a third maker who made a far superior Braille table. So there are various Braille tables. We will support all LibLouis and Duxbury Braille tables. But for certain cases, we may have to go another route, and we can always look into that. If you have a Braille table that isn't working right for you, we can see what we can do to contact or to work with the makers of those Braille tables to work with them. So I'm going to press enter on Espanol, Reducita, Duxbury, grade 1.
Configure language profile.
I have built my language profile. So again, I've set my voice, I've set my literary Braille table. There are some other options here that I can work with, and I can come down, and if I wanted
language
to, I could delete this language profile. And again, once I'm done with it, I could do that, but for all intents and purposes, I have created this language profile. So now we're going to go into a document and see how this works. So,
main menu.
I come to the main menu. I am going to open the word processor.
Word processor.
Press W to find that. I'm going to press enter.
Keyword menu.
Let's create a new document.
Create.
Now,
Edit
at this
box.
point, I'm working in my primary language profile, so I can write, hello, this is fun, and it would just be read and kind of work in English, right? And that is my primary language. I also will say I do not speak Spanish, so I'm going to switch over to show you how to input some of these things, and you'll hear that the voice will reflect that, but I'm not you know, versed in my Spanish as of late. That would have been several years ago. That would have been the last time I would have had some sort of semblance of putting sentences together, but this will demonstrate how we can actually input and move through these languages. So when I want to switch my language profile, when I want to read and write in a different language, I build the profile, and then when I'm in a document or I'm on a web page or I'm in a book that contains that language, I press enter with the letter L as in language. When I press enter with L,
Spanish.
into Spanish. So now at this point, anything I read will show up in that Braille table, and anything I write will be applied there. So if I just want to, again, talk about some of those special symbols. So when we look at Spanish, we have the ñ, right? That would be a very common symbol that we use. Again, we know that in this Braille table, dots 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 will make the ñ.
M
When I
tilde.
press space, it will say ñ,
Ñ.
right? Or if I do let's just say a 3, 4, 6. This would be
O
our
con
OX
acento
seven
agudo.
here, right? And you can
O
do
con
all of
acento
these
agudo.
various things, and it will work. So you can write in Spanish for your Spanish teacher. You can answer questions. Anything you do will be put directly into Spanish, and you can type directly in Braille into your keyword document. If you want to move back to English, I could press enter with L, and these symbols would stay here. So again, you could just switch to Spanish to write one sentence, and then press enter with L and move back into my primary profile.
Primary
now write
language
this in UEB.
profile. Dots 1 S U N dots 2
Now it says this is
5
fun.
6.
Now what I need to keep in
Fun.
mind here is this will now portray those symbols that I previously entered in UEB. So I'd have my ñ. If you're familiar with entering those symbols in UEB, you would press 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and then the letter N. Again, those sorts of things will be up to you in terms of how you want to learn them. Because if I come back into Spanish, the proper symbols will appear. So you need to keep that in mind, and that's true across the board. We're going to see just the way that UEB interprets things, and the way Braille tables interpret kind of what is entered or switched. When we switch on the fly, it can change the way our Braille appears. So keep that in mind. There is no automatic language detection here. So when I'm working in a document, if I'm in a document that contains Spanish and English, it will read those words with an accent, meaning both ways. So if I put this back in Spanish,
Spanish.
I pressed enter with L to move back to my Spanish profile. If I come to the top of my document,
Top.
I'm on my ñ, but if I read this document, you're going to hear a couple symbols, and then you'll hear it read, this is fun, with the accent.
Ñ, this is fun.
This is fun, right? So it will do that, and keep that in mind. And if vice versa, if I was in English, so if I press enter with L,
Primary language
and I come
profile.
across those symbols,
Space.
here's my N,
N tilde.
it's going to say N tilde, right?
N tilde. O acute.
O acute, right, instead of O acusento. So again, you're going to have to contend with that at times, but you will be able to very easily enter information in Spanish. You can also go to websites or read stories anywhere, right? If you download a book from Bookshare and you switch over to the Spanish profile, you can consume that entire book in Spanish, and it will read with the proper text-to-speech, as well as giving you the proper Braille output on the Braille display. So again, you can manage those profiles in the options menu. You can delete them, you can add new ones, and you can also customize sort of more than just the Braille grades. You can customize the voice and customize what it is that you want them to do in terms of your input and output sort of pieces. I am going to come back to the main menu.
Main menu. Contacts. Key
And at this
list.
point, I want to toss it over to Andrew, who's going to talk a little bit about not just how we can change languages, but what else is coming with Braille tables.
Awesome. Would you like me to speak in Spanish as well?
I would.
I used to enjoy Spanish at school, but unfortunately, the only thing I can probably speak or ask now is for a drink at the bar.
Do you need, or where's the bathroom, right?
Yeah,
I took
yeah.
German for 4 years, and my German is about at that level as well. So
Awesome. And just out of interest, Peter, how many profiles, I don't know if you mentioned this, I was answering some questions, how many profiles can you install on your Touch?
that would be 10.
Okay, and is there any limitations on the voices that you can install? You mentioned the voices of Spanish, and you could
Yeah, so-
Italian, German.
So on the a cappella voices, you have 4. There are 4 simultaneous voices you can have downloaded. If you need more, you would be using the Google Voices, or you would go into the Play Store and work with TTS or text-to-speech engines that would be available in the various languages that you may want.
Awesome, great. Okay, so over to me now. So I'm going to be talking about giving you a sneak preview of what's upcoming. As Peter was saying, you are in for a little bit of a surprise today, as What's upcoming in the next update, which should be available soon, will include some new Braille tables that can be selected within those profiles that Peter was showing you. Now, these learning tables, or the benefits of these learning tables, is once you've set a learning table up, what your student is reading and writing will match up with exactly what they are learning. Okay, now there are a number of approved Braille teaching courses available around the world. I can think of many. I mean, these are some of the few that we're going to offer. These courses are designed to teach Braille in easy stages, adding word signs, contractions, punctuations, etc., over a number of different levels. So what we're going to be soon introducing is several Braille learning tables, and these can be found all within the Duxbury software as well. So if you are using Duxbury software, and you may already know about these already, you can select which one that you use, followed then by the series or level that your student or you are at. So these include the TSBVI clusters, the Braille in Easy Steps, Fingerprint series, the Takeoff series in UEB, the RNZFB style, which is the New Zealand one, a South African syllabus level, Mangold method, and lastly the NLS IMBT UEB. So there's several learning tables for you to choose from. Now I'm going to go through one in particular, which is the Takeoff series. The Takeoff series will demonstrate using UEB, how to get from uncontracted to contracted, being more proficient at Braille. And I remember when I was a trainer going up and down the country in UK, teachers always asked me, how can I use the BrailleNote Touch from someone who is learning grade 2? They want to be at maybe 1.5 of level. This is one method that can be introduced in some of your Braille learning. Now the Takeoff series will also, the UEB Takeoff series will also include curriculum. And this is thanks to calibration with the RNIB, we will be able to offer a curriculum package for learning tables of the Takeoff series. Now what this means is that there will be a package for teachers, so teachers could follow this series so that they can monitor the progress of the student. The student will have a Braille file that they can read and learn all of these new contractions and punctuations in the relevant different series. The Takeoff series is divided into 12 levels, and let's start. Let's talk you through these levels. I am going to firstly show on and explain what are in each series. So I'm just going to share another screen here and talk you through what is available. I have it somewhere. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to make it large. So there's 12 levels on the Takeoff series. That's the one that I'm going to set up. But before I set up, I'm going to explain what's in each series. So in the profiles, if you was setting your touch to series 1, you would have the following words and contractions available to you. So that means what you type and what you read is going to be only available in these in this category. So the and sign, for, in, ing, of, ou, out, the, comma. So these are what's going to be displayed on your Braille display. So if we look at series 2, for example, there is the ed sign, there's him, there's the st sign, and still. I'm not going to be at series 2. So when I type in the word still, for example, that will just show in grade 1. It won't show me those contractions. So I'm going to give you an example. Okay, I'm going to now switch over to my touch. Okay, back over to my touch, and I'm going to go into the options menu.
Play Store, word processor, keyword, options menu, configure language profiles.
Okay, so like Peter was saying, we need to configure our language profile. Make sure that you know which one that you're using. So currently I'm using the
Select language profile, primary language profile.
Language profile, or you could even add a new profile as demonstrated from Peter, but I'm going to configure this
language profiles.
So I'm going to configure.
Select a language profile to configure.
I'm going to configure my primary one.
Primary language profile. Configure language profile. Language profile.
And I'm going to go all the way down to my preferred literary.
Delete language profile. Bottom. Literary Braille table. Takeoff series 1.
Okay, my literary Braille table. So already it's set, but I'm going to go and demonstrate how we change that. So I'm going to press enter.
Literary Braille table. English.
Now, all of these learning tables are in the English folder. Because they're only relevant to English-speaking languages, that's where they're all going to be placed. So in the English folder, I'm going to press enter.
Literary Braille table. English Australia Pre-Unified Duxbury Grade 1.
So, of course, all of here, you'll include all the UB, Duxbury Grade 2, and so on. But in addition to that, we've got all of those learning tables. So if you want the TSBVI clusters, you could press the letter T to jump to that. I want the takeoff series, so I'm going to press the letter T.
Takeoff Series 1.
Okay, and they're in numerical order. So we've got takeoff series 2.
Takeoff Series 2. Takeoff Series 3.
And so on. Okay, I'm going to choose takeoff series 1.
Takeoff Series 1.
And I do have the sim Braille showing on the top of my display. So those that are seeing the screen, they can see the Braille, what's happening as well. But I will explain that as well. So takeoff series 1.
Configure language profile. Literary Braille table. Takeoff Series 1.
So now everything on my Braille display will be respecting the takeoff series 1. So all of those signs that I mentioned will be showing. All the signs that are being showcased on series 2, 3, and 4, they of course will be in grade 1 because I've not learnt those yet. So I'm still at my level 1. So only what I'm learning is what's being shown on my Braille display. So example, let's go in the main menu and create a document.
Contacts. Key list. Word.
This is always my favorite part of the program. Andrew gets to write sentences in Braille.
Keyword menu. Create.
Yeah, I'm not as fast as you.
Edit box. End document.
Okay.
New line.
So I'm going to
End of
put
document.
new lines in there. So I'm going to just write a simple sentence quickly just to showcase this. Let's have a look. So pizza
Pizza.
for me
A-D,
and Peter.
P deleted. Dot 6. P-E-T-E-R.
Okay.
Peter.
So I've just typed in a simple just sentence, pizza for me and Peter. Now, if we refer to the Braille at this stage, okay, we can see that pizza is all in grade 1. We can see that the for sign is there. Okay, that's not in grade 1. So it's actually showing the all 6 dots for 4. Then we've got me, and then the and sign, of course, is showing because that's part of series 1. But if we look at Peter's name on the ER side, it's in grade 1. It's not showing me the ER sign at this stage, okay, because I'm not quite at that level. So now, if I am at that level, I want to change my series to take off series 3, because that's when it introduces the ER sign, amongst other contractions as well. So I'm going to now go back into my options.
Options menu. Configure language profiles.
I'm going to configure.
Select a language profile to configure. Arabic, primary language profile.
Okay, I'm going to configure my primary language profile again.
Configure language profile.
Okay, and I'm going to choose my literary Braille table, so L.
Literary Braille table. Takeoff series 1.
Okay, and I'm going to change this takeoff series 1 to takeoff series 3. I've jumped a course. Okay.
Literary Braille table. English.
Okay, so it's in the English document, and we're going to do
Literary
T.
Braille table. English Australia takeoff series 1. Takeoff series 3.
And select takeoff series 3.
Configure language profile.
And I'm going to
Literary
X out.
Braille table. Takeoff series. Select a language profile to configure. Options menu. Edit box. End document.
Okay, so now what we'll find on my sim Braille screen is Peter is now showing the ER sign. Okay, so my Braille is showing all the same as before. So if I go back, it's got pizza for me and Peter. And the only thing that's changed there, of course, is the ER sign. That's what's been introduced in Series 3. So what this really tells you, I mean, you can get a student from that uncontracted level to contracted using this stage gates. I mean, using these different types of level, whichever course that you choose. But one thing is for sure, we will be offering a curriculum with the takeoff series. Now, although I mentioned it's RNIB, it is a global distribution. So, you know, it doesn't matter, it's UEB after all. So any English speaking language can follow this curriculum, okay? Over to you, Peter. Have you got any questions there, Peter?
No. So it's a great point, and we hear this a lot because a lot of times the question, and I'm asked quite frequently, when do we introduce a product like the BrailleNote Touch Plus? And you know, a lot of the holdback or the reason for not introducing the product can oftentimes be that your student doesn't know fully contracted Braille. And so when they try to use fully contracted Braille, it just would be a blanket sort of, it would apply all the way across the board with every contraction. So we're trying to implement ways where your student can grow into the device. And I think we've had some very positive feedback. There was even someone in the chat said, I love these new learning tables. And that's, we're trying to broaden the user base and have any individuals, whether you're a pre-Braille learner, who's 4, 5, 6 years old, somebody all the way up to maybe you're just learning Braille and you're following this curriculum at home, learning UEB or learning, via the TSBVI method or something, and being able to utilize those. So we're trying to put them in so you can grow into your device. Love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take back control of this, and we're going to talk about some podcast finding and some music playing. Now, let me unmute my speech. All right.
Screen share. Start screen share. Connect. Connect full space.
And I'm going to mute.
Space. Speech on demand.
All right. So now what we're going to do is I am going to come to the main menu.
Speech on.
Turn my speech on. We're going to look at Google Play Music, and when what we learned is that when we try to upload a video, if we actually play a song, our video cannot necessarily go to YouTube, right? So I'm going to be starting and stopping things very quickly because I want to demonstrate, but I cannot let a song play for an extended period of time. Otherwise, the algorithms that be from the great World Wide Web will block this from going up to YouTube, and we want these to be archived. So we're not here to steal anyone's royalties, right? We don't own the rights to any music you're about to possibly hear 2 seconds of. Just want to put that out there. So if you're wondering why I'm stopping things so quickly, that is exactly why. But I want to show you how to use Google Music. It's a great tool. It is free. There are versions you can pay for and get rid of ads and things like that, but it will let you come in and kind of listen to audio content. There's also video content and things up there, but it's something you can explore. And I'm always asked, especially during this time, can my student, or how can I listen to podcasts? I know they're being assigned sometimes through remote learning, and you want a quick and easy way. This is not the only way. There are probably thousands of ways to find podcasts, as we all know. There are various apps that we can use on different platforms that will allow us to get podcasts. But this one comes on your device. I'm going to show you quickly how to use it. So I'm on the main menu. I'm going to press the letter A to find all applications.
All applications.
I am going to press enter.
Main menu, all apps. Amazon shopping.
All right. Now, I will say I do have a shower curtain and a mattress pad that I need to purchase. So I will be doing this Amazon shopping at some point, so we can actually demonstrate some of that as well, hopefully sooner than later, but we'll get there. But for right now, we want to look at play music, so I'm going to press the letter P as in everyone's favorite name, Peter.
PDF conversion. PDF to photos. Play movies and TV. Play music.
Come down to play music. So again, you heard there are some other apps there, PDF conversion suite, some PDF programs. Anything you bring in, right, is going to live in this all applications menu. But I find play music and I press enter.
Home. Recommended new release.
All right,
notification.
So we're brought to a home screen here. And if I want to search for something, again, I'll show you how to walk through this, but if I press the letter S,
straight to the heart, show navigation to search button,
I will find my search button. So again, you can definitely explore that screen. There's a lot going on here. It can be very cluttered, can sometimes get you kind of lost. But I find my search button with S. Here it said straight to the heart because that was something that was previously playing when I was testing this all out. But if I press enter on my search button,
search Google Play Music edit box.
Now, I can search for anything here. I could search for an artist. I could search for a podcast, which we'll do in a moment. I could search for whatever I want, right? We are going to look for some smooth jazz because it's just a smooth Thursday at noon here in Chicago. Actually, it's 11 something, but we're gonna type in smooth jazz.
SLO.1 jazz.
Right. So I type in smooth jazz and I press enter.
Jazz edit box. Play music. Radio stations.
The first thing it will always do, if I don't type in a sort of a category, it will say radio stations. And now I will see the various radio station results.
6 more button.
And there are more than I would be able to see in this list. So if I activate this 6 more button, I would be able to see all of the smooth jazz offerings here. But let's just look at the first one.
Smooth Jazz Radio.
All right, so this would be, again, this is like Pandora. It's not going to be a radio station. It's going to be a collection of songs, like a playlist that I can play. The next button,
Play Smooth Jazz button.
right, is going to be where I can play it, which I will do.
Options for Smooth Jazz Radio.
You have an
button.
options button where you can come in here, and we'll look at this when we look at podcasts. You can subscribe, or you can favorite. You can do different things. But we want to play this, so I'm going to press enter.
Play Smooth
On
Jazz.
Smooth Jazz Radio. And remember, if I get an ad, sometimes you will get an ad that pops up first. I'm just going to press enter with X to start playing the station over that ad, right, with that ad there. So you may hear, and again, I'm going to pause it right away, but I want to demonstrate that this will work, so I'm going to press enter.
Start loading Smooth Jazz.
And I'm going to press enter with X to quickly, very quickly pause that. But as you can hear, it will start playing the song, and here's another one. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Probably played way too much of that. We'll probably have to get that muted, but I'm able to play this, and at this point, I could use 4-6 with backspace to jump forward to the next track, or I could press 1-3 with backspace to go to the previous track if I wanted to. There are buttons here, right? If you like the song,
Bottom.
you can come
Notification.
you can thumb up it or thumb down it.
Web
Just like
view.
you would in various places. I'm going to press my triangle to get out of here.
Play music.
Again, and I'd come back to this sort of play smooth jazz button and so on. So I'm back on my search results screen. But you will find there are web views. There might be some ads that pop up. Once I'm playing something, though, at the very top of my screen.
Now playing Slow Jam by Huge Groove.
So here was the song, Slow Jam, right? And what I can do is, you'll see the now playing will always be present here, and I can use my next thumb key or first letter navigation to look at kind of the now playing area.
Previous button disabled.
Button if you wanted to. Obviously it's not playing, so that was the first
Play
song.
button next button.
Right, and I can jump to my next button and so on. But we saw you can utilize those shortcuts as well, or first letter navigation. Now, I want to talk about how do I find a podcast, or how do I find something else. So I want to press my triangle and come back to my home screen.
Home. Now playing Slow Jam.
All right, and remember, now playing will still be at the top. But if I come into my context menu, and again, to get in there, in this case, we're going to press the letter S to find the show navigation drawer.
Slow Jam. You show navigation drawer button.
This is where the menu lives for our app, right? It's called the navigation drawer. If we show that, we can switch accounts. We can also look at the different categories and things that we might want. I'm going to get there in a moment when I want to show you where our podcasts go that we subscribe to. So again, those things do exist, but let's search for a podcast quickly. I'm going to press S again.
Search button.
Let's press enter.
Search Google Play.
Everybody loves the Chicago White Sox. I know everybody doesn't, but I do. So I'm going to type in White Sox.
.TFOX
podcast.
PODA.34.
Right.
Were they, Peter? Who's the White Sox, Peter?
Now, dude, it's one of these points. Andrew will come to Chicago. He's been here before, but he will come back, and I will take him to a game because I love going, and he's going to have a great time at a Chicago White Sox game. For those of you who have never been, it is a phenomenal experience, and you can have a great time in a very family-friendly, wonderful environment. So I type in White Sox podcast, and I press enter.
Podcast edit box. Play music. Podcasts.
And then remember last time how it said radio stations? Now it says podcasts because it's going to bring me right to the podcast results here. And I can see, if I use my next thumb key.
4 more. Button.
4 more available.
Chicago White Sox podcast. MLB.com.
Okay, so that's cool. This is the first result, the MLB.com Chicago White Sox podcast. I will have
Play Chicago.
A play button. I just pressed backspace with enter to mute my speech. And again, after that,
options for Chicago White Sox podcast button.
I have options. So let's say that I want to subscribe to this podcast. I can press enter on the options here.
Show options. Subscribe.
And we have the subscribe button.
Share.
We can share this as well. So those are my 2 options. If I say subscribe, I will then join or be subscribed to this podcast where I can then listen to it every week, or I can be notified when it comes out. There are many different options that are available once you subscribe to a podcast. So if I press enter on
subscribe to Chicago White Sox podcast.
Right, I can come in here.
Auto download.
And I can change my auto download. Do I want it to download the previous 3 episodes?
Download the latest 3 episodes.
And there's an option to turn
switch
that on
off
if I wanted to. So I could change this switch to turn it on. You can also
notifications. Notify me about new episodes.
I can be notified when a new episode appears. So again, if you have something that's daily or weekly or monthly, you can be notified when this is here too.
Switch
And I could
off.
check that if I wanted to be notified, and I come down.
Playback order.
You can do your
Cancel.
playback,
Subscribe
and I can come
button.
down and press here, enter on subscribe.
Play music. Option.
Okay, and it subscribes me. Now, if I just want to play this straight away,
Play Chicago.
come on, we got to hear at least a few seconds of it. This one will not get muted because they will not mind us playing this. Hold on.
Stop loading.
This is going to go to the rock pile.
Play Chicago
we get the
White.
point. I pressed enter with X to pause it. But we're able to bring that up and play it, and we can move backward and forward through the podcasts by pressing enter. I'm sorry, backspace with dots 4/6 to move forward an episode.
Notification.
Or
Download
it's
it.
trying to download episodes and things now. But again, we can move backward and forward with those global commands. You can listen to these in the background and so on. All right, one last thing. Where do we find the favorites? So I subscribe to a podcast. Where do those live? So I'm going to come back to my home screen. Again, I'm going to press space with E or my triangle to back up.
Home.
Here's my home screen. Going to open that navigation drawer.
Skip backwards 10. Skip forward. Show navigation drawer.
Then I
Button.
just used my letter S, and you heard skip back 10 seconds, skip forward 10 seconds, because the now playing bar is still up there. I'm going to press enter on show navigation drawer.
Open navigation drawer.
And if I
Navigation.
come down,
Home.
you will see that there are different pieces here, new releases,
Music library. Podcasts.
podcasts, and so on, right? So if I press enter on podcasts in this navigation drawer, again, this is a lot of exploring you'll need to be doing, but if you do, press enter on podcasts.
Podcasts. Recently
You're
updated.
going to
Chicago
see
White
that
Sox.
I have what has been recently downloaded or updated, and you will also have a your favorite section here where you can play various podcasts that you have in your favorites list. You can also unsubscribe if you go to the options button. You can unsubscribe just like I did subscribe. And I think you'll find that this is a nice way and a very easy built-in way to locate podcasts and music and things like that if you're just looking for that during right now. So again, our goal is we like to look at the education sort of benefit side of things and then also give you some of this Peter ordering dinner or listening with extreme nostalgia and just really missing my Chicago White Sox. So it's going on. So we like to kind of show you how you can do some of those things as well. At this point in the program, Mr. Andrew, would you like to come in and we can take some chats and take a couple of live questions. Remember to raise your hand if you're on the Windows side of things. You can press Alt-Y. If you're on a Mac, it's Command-Y, and you can do it that way. If you're on the phone, *9. All right, I am going to stop screen share. And Andrew.
Okay, so let's just have a look at some of the chats here. So
chats.
Yeah, so we have that intro makes me laugh every time.
It's gonna. Hopefully, it will be changing soon. If we can ever get out of these shelter-in-place pieces, we at some point in time, whenever that may be, we're gonna have to update that intro. So stay tuned. It might be changing at some point in time.
So we just touched briefly on one of the enhancements that will be included in the updates, and one of the questions is when will this update be available? So the goal would be May time. We're not going to fix a date on it, but let's expect around about May we should receive some updates on the Touch, and it will include many benefits. That's just a little intro, and we'll show you more about the learning tables, because the next question was about how is it packaged up. You know, we talked about the Takeoff series having a curriculum a part of it. So the curriculum will be hosted on our website. The HumanWare hasn't been set yet, but we're looking to host it on our website where the teacher or yourselves can download it. You can have the text version of it, which is the printed for the teacher if they're sighted, but also you have a BRF file that relates to each different series. So it's a story that each learner will open up within the Key BRF app, and they'll be able to follow the story, learning those different word signs and punctuations and so on.
And they could also be embossed, and then you can get that through the app as well. In terms of the content, will be available in different spots. And I think this would be specific to the UEB Takeoff, the Takeoff series.
Correct, and that is in calibration of RNIB. Now there is another question that where the Takeoff series Word document is located. so I can check out the book.
Nowhere yet. I think you can find them on the RNIB site, I would assume, right?
Yeah, they are available on the RNIB, but they are you do have to pay for them on the RNIB. So what we're saying is for Touch users that they are going to be available free for BrailleNote Touch Plus and Touch Plus users. Of course, this is a feature that will be available on the Plus and not the original Touch. So all contents and related to what's in each series will be also on our support page. So the page that I showed everyone about what's in each series, that will be uploaded onto our website. Okay, so another question. I wish there was a language detection so it would just change voices on the fly. Well, it's a good question. Unfortunately, it's not available for languages like involve Latin text. But when we talk about Arabic and Latin, there is a way of automatically changing it on the fly in terms of the voice. So the voice will change on the fly if you've got Arabic and Latin text, of course. But if you're using French and English, Spanish and English, that unfortunately it's not going to be available to you. But it is something that has been mentioned a few times. So very good question indeed, and we'll continue to investigate that for sure. Okay, why do you recommend that particular Spanish table, that reducida? How do you pronounce it?
I have just found that it works the best in terms of the ease of putting in punctuation and things like that. It has, if you like a different one better, please use whatever you like. That is just what I use.
Yeah, and there's different ways of, I know certainly in the UK, there's different ways they're teaching in schools Spanish and French, a different way completely to the native way that you're doing it in the USA, I know, Peter. So they're doing some kind of method 2 that you learn the contractions, or you learn the accent signs, the native accent signs, but for punctuation marks and capital signs and so on, it's doing UEB. So it is slightly different. And if you're anyone here in the UK who wants to know more about the languages, just give us an email, and I'd be happy to give you some advice on that. Okay, let's go and just go and answer some live questions, Zoe. Okay, so let's unmute Mary Carla Hayes. Hello, Mary.
Mary Carla Hayes, you are on the blower.
Okay, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have a very complex problem. I work as a foreign language. Let me turn this on. I work as a foreign language teacher and translator of Spanish, French, and German, and I'm learning Italian. But when I'm translating, sometimes I have to produce a print, say an instruction manual or something that has 3 different languages on a page. Mm-hmm. What I've been doing with the BrailleNote Apex is I have written a set of macros that every time, I have an E acute that's the same all across the board and different things like that. What is the best way to handle this on a Touch Plus? I understand my method is not going to work on the Touch Plus. I usually tend to write in computer Braille or in, grade 1, and I'd rather not do it with UEB.
You could certainly do what you're doing. You could use computer Braille as your entry, Mary. You could definitely have it to where if let's say you have an English, a Spanish, or a French Braille table, it'd just be a matter of knowing what that E acute symbol would be. And if whatever language profile you're working in, you would have to just know how that symbol correlates across the board. You're going to have to configure it the way that it'll work best for you, because you can set up all 3 of those profiles and switch to all 3 of them within one document. You can also, it's not going to change their appearance. I think you're just going to have to play a little bit with when you're in a certain profile, what's going to be easiest. I demonstrated with the literary side. You could by all means set computer Braille as your method of entry, and then you could use that. You could have all 3 set to the same computer Braille table for entry if you wanted to. It's really just going to depend on how you want to configure those profiles, because I know what you're saying. You're trying to minimize kind of that input needing to use various Braille codes. So I would, I know it will be doable. And either way, even if you were to switch between, it wouldn't make the other language null and void. That language would still appear visually.
Oh, okay. And it'll also display and print and everything.
Yes, it will display properly in print no matter what your active profile is. You know, if you enter the language with the proper profile, when you switch out of that language to a different one, that print is still valid in the original language.
Okay, and every device has an implode button. I know this device has it, and I'm going to find it. But if I do something wrong, is there anything I can do that can't be undone?
Well, it's always a matter of, I mean, if you need, you know, contacting support, you can always send inquiries to support@humanware.com. You can, if you know, don't worry. The only thing I would say is don't be afraid to explore, right?
Okay.
Find what works best for you. And if you find a bug, let us know if there's something crazy, because this is exactly why we have the 10 language profile option. It's for people like you. We want this to be something you can use to read and write in multiple languages simultaneously, and get that to a printed audience, right? Get that to a teacher, or in your case, to students. That's very awesome that you're doing lots of linguistics. I'm always intrigued by that. That's cool. So please let us know if you find, or if you're just trying to do something and it isn't working exactly as you would like. We can certainly try to address it and make it work the best way for you. But I think what you're trying to do from getting that to a print standpoint, it will work the way you're wanting it to, across the board.
Well, thank you very, very much. And again, I'm enjoying these seminars.
Wonderful. Thank you. Keep on coming. We'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so next then we have RJ. Hello, RJ.
Rock and roll, RJ.
Are you there?
RJ.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you are. You are here, my friend.
I have a question regarding Braille tables. Basically, I've got students who use, regarding maths, because my students study chemistry, and I know you're doing UEB, but the problem we're having is when we put, say, like the indices sign, or the square root sign, it comes out as square root. It will actually put it in brackets, and that's a problem because it doesn't actually represent the sign. It'll just put it in full
words.
Word. Yeah.
It sounds like RJ, it sounds like you're going to need to use key math. So when you want to input that and have it come out visually accurate, you're going to want to use key math to do that, whether it's chemistry, whether it's you're inputting, mathematics, for anything. You want to use key math to turn that Braille symbol, whether it's Nemeth code or UEB math, into perfect visual output. We covered that a couple of weeks ago, I think 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We can definitely send you the archive, but if you're using key math, that will not be an issue, because you are correct. If you're just in keyword and you write, to the square root for a fraction or something, it will say the word open frac or close frac or, whatever that may be. But if you use key math, it will properly translate that Braille input into correct, beautiful visual output.
And I've also got one more question regarding languages. Sure. Now, for example, my friends in the French department, for example, I know a bit of grade 2 French. But say, for example, because on my BrailleNote Touch Plus that I use, sometimes it will come out as I don't know all the French grades too. I only know some of it, or some of our listeners don't know all of the French.
Sure.
So how do they, is the learning tables available for French as well?
It's a great question. And this, Andrew, you might know more. I only know of learning tables in English. I don't know if there's a curriculum because again, these are coming from Duxbury. They're Duxbury Braille tables. There is no curriculum that has Braille tables for that I know of. Do you know, Andrew, anything outside of English?
Not with the other languages. Yeah, unfortunately, it's only in English that is available. Unless you can find something, then I'd be more than interested to look more into it.
If you can track down Braille tables that somebody may have produced, and not a curriculum is one thing, but the actual tables for a Braille translator, we can certainly look at implementing. It'd be a great. We'd be very interested and love to do that to support any languages. If there are various kind of Braille tables that bridge the gap from uncontracted to contracted, we'd love to support those.
Because when I'm writing, say, in grade 2 French, or when our students are writing in grade 2 French, that sometimes it's say, you know, like bonjour, excuse my French accent, because I know my French teachers are tuning into this. But say, for example, I put bonjour, sometimes it comes out as BJ, and I thought, why is it coming out in grade 2? And I only know very little grade 2. I only know like key bits.
I would strongly suggest that you work in grade 1. You know, don't try to go into grade 2 if you don't know it. I always recommend, especially here in the States, when I'm working with someone who speaks or who's learning Spanish, very few people here in the States would know grade 2 Spanish, especially in school. That's more for your native speakers. So I'd encourage you to use grade 1 Braille. That way you know it will accurately translate visually each time. And then as you learn some, you know, or if you eventually get that whole grade 2 piece down, then switch to it. But thanks so much. They're great questions, and we'd love to help with the Braille tables. Thanks a lot, RJ.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to Abby Taylor. Abby Taylor, hello.
Abby Taylor, you are on the blower, or at least you will be. There you go.
Here I am.
All right, how's it going, Abby?
I'm actually. Hello, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on my BrailleNote Touch Plus with Zoom, and I could not, for the life of me, find the unmute button.
Oh, you can.
Anyway,
you can always.
here I am.
Yeah, there is a checkbox. Great. We're glad you're on your.
Okay, I found it finally. Anyway, I am having a minor issue with my configuring language profiles, and I posted this in the chat when I couldn't find the unmute button in case I couldn't unmute. But anyway, when I try to configure a language profile, I'll click on the language profile and then Google TDS comes up. No matter what voice I'm using, Google TDS comes up, and the only way to change it is through the Android TTS settings. So I'm wondering if this will be fixed in the update.
This is something we saw an occasion popping up, and I believe, to my knowledge, running the newest beta, it has been fixed. Do you know, Andrew?
Okay.
I think you're familiar.
Yeah,
probably with
I
this
had a look at this actually, Abby. I did see the post, and I was going to answer it at the end, and I did try to replicate the problem, but yeah, I'm running the beta version as well, so it didn't come into picture here. So it's the first that I've heard of that, to be honest, Peter.
I had this happening when I used the old Eloquence TTS. Sometimes when I was using Spanish, and it would kick me back into the Google TTS, and I'd have to go manually change it. So I believe it should be reconciled, Abby, but
okay. All right.
I'm not positive. But we will, if you can. The other thing is, if anyone out there, if you identify a bug such as this, if you can recreate the exact steps that you are taking, and so that we can reproduce it, the only way we can really fix a bug is for it to be reproducible, and we're happy to fix it. So if you say, I do this, and this happens, we can certainly emulate it, and then if it's an issue, we can get it fixed.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Abby. All right, we'll do a couple more, Andrew.
Okay, so we have Emilia.
Emilia, you are on.
Hi.
There you go.
You hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, I love to download different languages, different voices with different accents. And right now I have the Acapella TTS speech engine. So I have, and I was wondering, I was just looking at say I want to load I have the Acapella Voices app. So say I want to download the Norwegian voice that's named Olav. Does that, if I purchase that voice, will it talk in Norwegian, or does it just talk English with a Norwegian accent?
Oh, it will certainly talk in Norwegian. Do you know, Andrew, how that goes if somebody has an additional voice in addition to our 4 that are licensed?
Yeah, so it will come up as an option. You'd have to go to your additional TTS options.
Right.
So that would be, if you go into your configure additional TTS settings, so on space and O, where just before configure language profiles, there will be configure additional TTS settings, and that's where you would need to go to configure those additional voices.
Yes. Yeah, and it would work. It would work for you, because I know I had back in the day purchased some Ivona voices or something like that, and they certainly would work. And that will speak Norwegian if you have documents or anything in Norwegian. Yes, it will work that way.
But like, if I have stuff in English, will it read it in English?
Oh,
it will read
it will read it with an accent. Oh, absolutely. You will get some. My father is from the Balkans, and it would definitely sound like someone reading English with a very thick accent, for sure.
Out of interest, what are you using?
Because Norwegian.
What voice is it that you're after? Did you say?
I want the male voice that's named Olav.
Okay, that's actually
we
available.
have that one. Yeah, it's
yeah.
available in Manage Voices. You don't have to purchase that. If you go to Manage Voices,
oh, really?
you can use Olav. Olav is one of your voices that we have the license for. So it's 79 megabytes, and you can download that to try for free.
Oh, yay! Awesome.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And that's in the in the options menu?
That's in options, and then if you go to configure your language profile, so all the steps that we showed how to change all your settings in your configure.
But when you go into voice, you would go to add additional voice, and you would go down to Norwegian, and then you would see that voice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take one or two more, Andy.
Okay, so let's have Oscar. Hello, Oscar.
Oscar, you're back.
Are you there, Oscar?
Oscar. 2, 1. All right, Oscar, we'll come to you next time, our friend. All right, one more, Andrew.
Okay, so let's go to Natalia.
Natalia.
Hello.
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 Excellent. Hi.
Hi.
I am very excited. First of all, I'm extremely excited about the grade 1.5
yes.
that's going to be available
because
I am a tech instructor.
Awesome.
And I'm totally blind, so I'm very excited about that, because usually I don't introduce note takers to my students until they know how to write in grade 2.
Beautiful. No, that's great. That's exactly why we're doing this. We've gotten a lot of feedback, and we want to make sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's excellent. Makes me happy. Thank you. And I also had a question. I'm moving to Ireland, and I'm going to be learning Irish or Gaelic. And I was wondering about spell checking. Once I get fluent in Gaelic to the point where I can actually write a file in it, how would I go about spell checking in Gaelic, since it's not available in the native spell checker?
That is a wonderful question. I'm going to toss it over to our product manager.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's not certainly it's not available yet on the Google sort of side of things on that. So
right.
What I would suggest is, fortunately, it's not going to be available just to do the CH sign with space.
Right. Exactly.
We can have a look at. I mean, dictionaries is something that we continue to investigate on how we can improve that and add additional dictionaries in the spell check. So hopefully the time that you start sort of learning and start writing a full document, it will be available to you. When do you plan going to Ireland?
Well, once all this stuff clears up. Really, there's kind of a whole story. I still am in the process of locating a job and that sort of thing, but I've been to Ireland twice and I adore it, and so I don't have much in America, so I'm going to be moving there.
The nice benefit, and that's awesome. I mean, we do support Gaelic in our language profiles. We have the Braille tables for it, which is great.
And I have a Gaelic voice through Sarah Proc.
That's awesome. And so what I think may be an option that we in the interim is you can probably find a way to I'm guessing there may be some way to take the text you have and paste it somewhere online to get it spell checked. But again, yeah, I wouldn't know. We'd have to kind of look around.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
Natively be here. Not yet. Not that someday, but not yet. That's awesome.
And I'm not at that point yet at all. So
right. Hey, but by the time you get there, you know, it could be something that's implemented. So
right, yeah, absolutely. I just thought I would ask.
Thanks so much, Natalia.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Well, we're going to call it a day, and we thank everyone for coming, and we will certainly, it's always nice to hear some new questions and new people attending. We appreciate it. If you have suggestions for future episodes or things you would like to learn more about, please send your emails to humanwarelive@humanware.com. We will be back next Tuesday. I believe next week we're going to be having Benetech on, so Bookshare will be joining us to talk about what they're doing during these times. We'll also be looking at accessing Bookshare, utilizing the Victor Stream and Trek as part of next week. I believe Tuesday, correct, Andy?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And then next Thursday, we need to drum up some ideas, but I think radio.com may be in there, so some radio stations, and also possibly diving into maybe some tidbits that have floated into the chats, into the HumanWare Live mailbox, that is. So maybe looking at font attributes and some of those things. So we appreciate everybody being here. Anything else, Andy?
Well, don't forget the special guest on the 7th of May webinar.
That'd be 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, we will have a special guest and we'll have a prize. So again, stay tuned. We will announce how to register and all that stuff for that webinar. We still don't have it as of today, but it will be coming.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a wonderful weekend.